Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI summer season Saturday tier, the Madrid Grand Prix. The Spanish Grand Prix is upon us once more here in LSI. And like I was saying yesterday, this could be just the few races that we get to see around this circuit if it's not going to be so popular. Although we did have a spectacular race yesterday, so maybe it could make a return. We have Fancy on the way back in. It's Yellowette, who's just started the next lap, not able to get too far up the order so far. They're going to full send over the curves as they use the corner cutting ability for this circuit, almost into the wall up the hill, using the gradient to slow the car down for you, shifting down the gears, managing the harvesting throughout the lap as everybody else now leaves and gets ready for their final lap, really cutting to the inside to minimize track distance but also get a bit more of an advantage. And no, he has not been banned just yet. In the chat, Zingy is being referenced as the barrel or banned. Either way, he's not. He went from last to P3 yesterday after a qualifying disconnect. What can he do today? P3 at the moment. They have one more lap to get done. Yellowette continues. The final sector is upon them. They've got a few major corners remaining. It looks fairly tidy until I just spoke a little bit of a commentator's curse right there. On the throttle once more. The final corner is upon them now. They'll get that straight mode up to the line. Oh, and they've just made a big moment with the wall. They will improve by 6/10, but it's not going to be enough to go too far. Yellowette P7. The next car across the line. It's going to be an Aston Martin to start their lap. We're going to see Cheyenne, who is on the lap in the first sector, but we do have a few other cars who are going pretty quickly, and I'm sure they're going to be completing the lap a bit sooner. Fancy is going again. It's Gregorio, who is in P5, P6, staying where they are for now. We'll stay on board with Fancy, who goes once more. Purple in the middle sector this time around. The final sector is next to call, and they've not got much battery to use. Running out as they get into the next corner, but saving it all in the next few corners to then blast it once more all the way to the end of the lap. 20% down to 10 in the final corner. They regen some more and then blast it. There it is. And it's going to be Fancy who jumps ahead of Charlie. An improvement, but not enough to go into the 29s that this man does have at the moment. But there's going to be more cars to try and take it away. Gregorio might get another lap in. They will get another lap in here. It's going to be Cheyenne who will not. The pole sitter from yesterday and the contender for victory will not take it. Goes into the pit lane. It's going to be it for them. Eager Pro, their final moment. They had an absolutely banger of a race yesterday, taking victory after a long old fight to the end in the wet conditions as well. A mixed strategy, absolutely on the limit in the final corner there, as close as you want to get to the wall when they improve, but it's just not enough by the smallest margin. Can Zingy try and take it away all over the curb, making contact with the wall? That's how hard they're having to go. Pushing it left and right, track limits everywhere, really cutting that inside curve. The final time in the final corner, a bit of understeer, having to get off the throttle, but they do enough and they get to P2, but still no match for Faravar in P1, who stays there. Fancy is on their in lap, and Gregorio, they will get one more opportunity. What can they do? They've not got battery in the final moments. A crucial stage to the lap to try and get everything you can at the end. Is it going to be enough, or does the Audi driver just miss out? Across the line, and they jump Charlie. Charlie disconnecting just a moment ago. It's Faravar who goes into the pit lane, and that is their lap done. Zingy gave it their best shot, and Eager Pro just didn't quite get there enough in the end. And it's the same top three as we finished with yesterday. Showing dominance in the F126 game. Will we get the same victor after the same pole sitter? A slightly different order. It's Farvar in P1, it's Zingy in P2, and Igor to be third. The rest of the grid's on your screen. We'll be back in a bit. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? We're away. It's not a good start from Igor, dropping down already, being challenged by Fancy on the inside line. Side by side, the top two though, Zingy swooping around the outside. It's a drag race down into the next chicane. Who's going to get there? Who dares use enough of their battery? It looks pretty tight out there, pretty intense. It's side by side. Igor makes contact. There's damage. There's damage on the Red Bull. That was risky and it did not work out. Oh, what a shame to see that happen in the opening stages. Cheyenne continues to get the bad luck in their first season of LSI. It just does not stop. And Igor, you're going to be a little bit frustrated with the situation. They felt that they were deserving of space and they were able to take it side by side. And that's why they made that decision. Cheyenne too, but it just didn't quite work out. They didn't manage to dance together. Unfortunately, missing the start. That's Charlie with the disconnect, or was it just a crash? I'm not entirely sure. Losing the front wing. And it's going to be a long old way to try and do anything in this race. Gregorio in P5, nicely in the train. Yellow at the back of the train, so all cars except from one altogether. That is Farvar struggling with that front wing, but they're staying out. They're happy to try and hold on to the pack, and we've seen that a few times now. A fair few times in the modern game with the battery. For a while, you're able to make a damaged front wing work out. They're doing just that. We'll get the data on the screen while we can. As it's Farvar who is looking for a move. Just forcing a defensive throw from Fancy. The Swede having to think about things. And now we do have all the data that we need on the screen. And everybody following in the train, still they remain. Charlie, as expected, retires in the pit lane, which is a shame to go through that qualifying session just to end it on the first lap. But it is what it is. Controller died. Very, very frustrating. Oh, and that is an off moment there for Yellow X. Still within the train, they should be all good to go. And that's why you get spare batteries. I've got a few spare just in case, although if I do try and mess around with my controller, it will probably break, so I'm not really looking forward to changing the batteries out. Maybe I need to buy a new controller. Now there is a bit of a split forming. 9/10 Gregorio just doing their best, but it's not quite so simple. It's Yellowit making the first overtake out on track. That's on Ruffer X. The two Red Bull cars out on track. There's two Mercedes and two Red Bulls. That's about it for teammate-wise in this race. Yellowit's made that move very close to the wall, actually making contact and allowing the Red Bull to come through side by side as they go up the hill. They'll have to leave space for one another. They do so just until the last moment. Demon dragging happens, and that's exactly what you get. It's just not going to work out, and that is going to be Ruffer X getting a big old penalty and probably not racing again. For a while at least. That's frustrating. The virtual safety car has been deployed. We have to apologise to Yellowek. And just watch what's happening, because have a misbehaving driver out on track. Just want to make sure that they're not going to cause any danger to anybody else, considering they were speeding under the safety car. I thought they might have tried to catch up to the pack and cause some damage, but they seem to have backed off for now. The virtual safety car will come in, but also Zingy comes into the pit lane as well. That's interesting. Farvar takes the obvious opportunity to get a new front wing, but Zingy making a pit stop. That is interesting. Looks like it's going to be a long final stint for the Scotsman. An undercut is possible. Farvar leaves and does what they can. There is Fancy and Igor released. Gregorio on their own now as the top two break away, chase each other down through the lefts and the rights. Can Fancy have a better race today? Another driver as well as Farvar who've just seen bad luck since they first started driving deserve a bit more. What can they do? That being said, Zingy, Igor, they've driven long enough to have their fair share of bad luck. That's track limits there for Igor. The first sign of weakness, although 100% win rate around this circuit as of now. The top two, the closest out on track. It's hard tyres for Zingy, Farvar and Ruffer X behind. Well, will we see an overtake here from Fancy? That's the question. Are they willing to go for a move? Igor's got 50% battery, but no overtake mode. The Mercedes, 70% and overtake mode. They do get the extra power available to deploy. Igor all the way up to track limits, continuing to risk it all. They have the confidence after yesterday to do what they want. And they do keep it within track limits, this time under the tunnel. Under the bridge. Now maybe we'll get a better idea of Fency's urgency to lead this race. Considering their battery, I don't think it really exists. Igor having a very good final few corners. When you put the fastest lap in, that undercut could start working very, very well. Fency catches up a little bit, but only by a tenth. Doesn't quite have the confidence that Igor looks to have through the chicane. 7/10 now, they make it, spotting their opportunity to break away. Now, although an unpopular circuit so far, it is quite fascinating to watch these cars dart left and right around these bends. Apologies for the silence for a moment, just making sure everything's not as bad as it should be. We do continue. Igor, Fency out front, they continue. Gregorio on their own, Zingy catching up. Cheyenne goes fastest on the previous lap. Looking very competitive. Alright, is an AI car controlling Roof X. The opportunity that Igor has here, 9/10 on the cusp of breaking away from DRS range. Fency doesn't take it as the chance to go into the pit lane, which I am surprised at. They've got cars behind them that are going to be on older tyres towards the end of this race. Why not try and go for the undercut as well? Maybe not so severe, not have as high a chance of a puncture, still get ahead of Igor on an undercut. Well, that was 9/10. It's now changed all the way to 4/5. Contact with the wall does drop that slightly, but they're able to get away with it. As we see so many times around this circuit, you can brush the wall here and there and be okay. Although that being said, if the damage model that we would use with our races was a bit higher, then it might be a different question. Here we go. Zingy, 80% battery. No overtake mode, but still the hunger to get the move done. And they go along the outside that turns to the inside. Goes off the circuit. That's not great. They haven't really done a good job, but I think they've made the position early enough to not need to give it up as long as they got a track limit for it. Very cheeky to do so. No pit stops. Nope, we are getting a double stack here as Fancy follows Igor. Both drivers opting to pit on lap 9 out of 29. And the race lead will change as Zingy is now in clean air. We've got Farvar trying to put the fast laps in this race. The Scotsman looks to break away. Fancy not able to hold on to Igor. Really holding it tight on the inside line. That was a close call. Surely on the edge of losing traction that far off the circuit. No, but they do seem to keep it together. Just after that pit stop. Not quite utilising the pit lane as much as Igor. Fancy has dropped now out of that overtake range. And that's since gone from 1.4 to 1.6. How will that adapt as we continue? Well, a less of an advantage with the extra power for Fancy would suggest we're going to see Igor break away further and further. But that gap has been quite evenly balanced so far. Fancy's doing a very good job. Strong in the first sector relative to the Serbian. Whereas Igor has the upper hand in the mid part of the lap. Gregorio on the freshest set of hards, pitting one lap later than Fancy and Igor. Once again, unfortunately on their own in this race. Oh, and that is side by side we go. Igor already getting the move done on Cheyenne. Cheyenne's had a big moment, some sort of issue. Do they have damage on that car? They once again have half a front wing. We just missed that, unfortunately. And now they're going to lose the position also to the Mercedes driver, and the day gets worse for the Red Bull. Frustrating to be in this situation. Farvar drops off of the podium, and we just don't know if that will be available again. They go into the pit lane. It's now Igor and Zingy up front. Fancy sticking with the Serbian quite nicely. But 13 seconds away. Is the tyre advantage enough for Igor? Will Zingy get a puncture? Well, they've got 13 seconds to play with it here. Farvar gets the new front wing, and looks like they're going to continue in this race. Leaving the pit lane now with their third front wing of this Grand Prix. And hopefully they can keep it on the car this time and take it to the checkered flag. That would be nice. The first 3-second time penalty of the evening. And he has lost a bit of time here to the Aston Martin. 11 seconds already. And that green car is very, very quick. Contact with the wall. And you can't be making those kind of mistakes. With the upper hand that they have, they've still got a long way to go in this race though. Now, of course they did gain about, let's say, in theory, 13 seconds on Igor by hitting under the virtual safety car. But they do have 5 extra laps of tyre wear, giving Igor the outright advantage, but also questioning Zingy's ability to take it to the end of the Grand Prix on this set of tyres. And considering this circuit is pretty tough on the compounds, it's really looking possible. So it might be a second place here for the Scotsman. Getting as closest to the wall as it there. That was singing the groove, I think. Trying to focus on their own race and not think about the delta that Igor's catching too much. Although they have just hit that wall quite hard. I don't think it will be damage to the front wing. And they have only gone half a second slower than their previous, or on their fastest lap. At least in the middle sector. But on 9-lap-old tyres, I think that's pretty impressive. It's not enough. 1.2 seconds, that is a 7/10 loss in the final sector alone relative to their best lap. Igor, who's got half the tyre life, is going to have a big game here. The gaps have been spread out since the pit stops. The strategy's mixing up, obviously. Igor finding a brilliant amount of pace as Fency has not been able to hold on to the Aston Martin. It doesn't look like they're being kind to their tyres, sliding around here and there. Going to make it a bit complex for them to take it to the end of the Grand Prix, but are they looking for a pit stop within the next 5 laps maybe to go to the end on a set of mediums? You can see that car is not enjoying it. I really believe that we might see Zingy in the pit lane at some point soon. There is not really another option, especially considering what's just been said in the chat. 1.4 seconds per lap that Igor is gaining. Catch-up will be 6 laps. Overtaking a bit of a different question, but I think before that is possible, we'd probably see the Silver Arrow in for some more tyres. It's just whether they're going to be white wall or yellow wall tyres, mediums or hards. Igor flying out on track, and we'll watch on boards. They're almost closer to the Zingy than they are to Fency. The two Mercedes being split by the green car, and that is surely a loss of front wing. Somehow they keep it on. I just don't believe that. I just don't believe it. Ty Gregorio gets a 3-second time penalty to add to their races. Cheyenne's going to try and bring this one back after the extra pit stop with damage. .4 versus 6.6. There it is, the Scotsman's in. On to a fresh set of hards. And they're going to fly to the end of the Grand Prix. No problem at all. But will their advantage be an advantage? Or is track position going to prevail for the Aston Martin? Leaving the pit lane on their own, they can go to the end of the race doing hot laps without a worry too much about the rest of the field. And very rightly said, they'll have to try and do something differently here. And you can see it's a new lease of life that they're getting from these tyres. Great stuff for Zingy. %50 battery. Back down to 13, back up to 50 again. No overtake mode, but they can harvest where they want. Lifting off before the final corner. Just trying to counteract the lift off with the braking performance. You brake a little bit lighter. And you lift a bit earlier. To try and cancel out any delay that you might get by being off the throttle. Very close to the track limits, that could plague them. They had it yesterday, and it prevented them from fighting for a real victory, although the pace at the end was swaying towards the Aston Martin and the Red Bull. And it was the same as last weekend in Belgium. Zingy did not have the ability to compete against Igor in the final moments, but when it came to the Saturday tier for rounds 2 of the same circuit, round 2 of the weekend, Zingy had everything under control. There is the Mercedes in their sights, 4 seconds in front. And you can see them going to the final corner, and that car's only going to get closer and closer. Something that we just don't know yet though. Will Fency be fighting their teammate? Or will they allow them to pass through? Teammate to teammate, you would assume that they would allow them to pass through. But depending on the tyre wear of Fency, they might want to try and keep Zingy behind for as long as possible to then fight at the end of the Grand Prix to take the position. Fency gets a 3-second time penalty, it strikes once more. And the Mercedes will inevitably overtake the Mercedes. And it's only taken a matter of laps to catch up and pass. It's not going to take too many more to catch up to the Aston. I'm not entirely sure what the intentions of Rufex are with these intermediate tyres. We'll keep an eye on them. But it's not going to give them any advantage. And we shouldn't be seeing rain in this race either. But back to it, the two Mercedes out on track to get one another. Defense versus offense. Weaker tyres versus fresher tyres. And Fency, although looking to go side by side and hold their ground, I thought they were going to give the position up. They are not at all. And forced to use the battery will it be for Zingy. Forced to harvest for the rest of the lap. They will not be able to pass just yet. And I think they're probably worried about being re-overtaken. So it will be Zingy looking for the overtake mode to claim it for the rest of the lap. And there they are on the inside line. They've really tried to push it to the limits, but they've gone for the move way too early for overtake mode, surely. And they will not get there. Fency has a free opportunity to catch up, but maybe the Scotsman just believes in their tyre wear. They'll be able to do enough to make a difference in this race. 8.2 seconds. Lap 21 out of 29. Lap 22 out of 29. End of 27 projected. That's the overtake that Zingy will be looking at on Eager Pro, who is going to try and take it to the end of the Grand Prix. There's no way that's going to happen otherwise. They won't have gone this far just to make a pit stop. 6.3 seconds. And projected the end of lap 27 is going to be the opportunity to overtake. Cheyenne Farivar going for the move, but they back off just to create some confusion for the Audi. Try and distract the driver in front. Gregorio, will they crack? ERS being used. Zingy gets a 3-second time penalty once more here in Madrid, and that's going to change things pretty drastically. Farivar, a drag race down the straight into the chicane, and they're not giving up, either of them. It's gonna be tight. They thought about trying to hold it, and they get a 3 seconds. They go aggressive over the curbs. It's wheel banging up the hill. It's going to be ahead just about. Trying to keep their front wing in was Gregorio, but that was not gonna happen. Now that was as close as it's ever gonna get. But Zingy has just made a critical mistake. And although you can bet that the Scotsman is still going to try and take the lead of the Grand Prix on track, it might just be a little bit too impossible to take it away from the driver who did exactly the same thing yesterday and kept it clean off of track limits to beat Farivar in the end. Although they weren't holding back throughout the entire race. But it's not like they were relaxing. 4.5 seconds. They still can't afford to relax now. Zingy is travelling quickly. Hungry to do well. Hungry to win. .5 seconds, making a bit more lap time than I was expecting. Their pace has changed. They don't need to really manage tyres to the end of the Grand Prix at all. They can push as much as they want, as long as they're willing to face the consequences in the end. And just remember, it's not impossible we could see Eagle with a puncture by the time we get to the final round. They can see the Aston in their sights. We just don't quite know if the Aston Martin will try and defend and prevent Zingy from running away too much, or if they're going to just allow the Scotsman to go through because of the penalty situation and the fact that they don't really have the pace to hold on. They have to fight it. We have to fight it, otherwise it's a slam dunk penalty. Sorry, victory for Zingy, in my opinion, with the time that they've just gained. That being said, Igor fighting it puts more pressure on them, risks their track limit warning tally, potentially leading them to get a time penalty. That is Gregorio having an issue in the final sector. They get the car turned around, we won't see a safety car, and there is no damage on the silver car. It's pretty good going. Here's Igor, the tyres looking very matte at this stage. On the banked corner. Surely that will give way. If it's going to give way at any point, it will be there. Slightly shinier tyres for the Scotsman. Now 3-second time penalties are applied to all drivers. 6 seconds for Gregorio and Rufex. The rest have 3. It's set from Igor, who leads this Grand Prix. DRS is available. And lap 27 projected for the overtaking moment. It very much is. Saving the battery after a short blast to defend is Igor. Staying in front nicely. But up the hill, trying to spot the opportunity. Zingy goes for it. It's going to be side by side. There's just about enough space and they don't collide with the wall. Igor was not willing to let that one go so easy, but they were caught napping. And the Scotsman drifts out the following corner to put the power down and try and break away with 2.5 laps. Igor has to fight. They have to slow down. The might of the silver arrow before it's too late. But you know what? I think it might be over. No battery available. It's all deployed for Igor. Overtake mode is available for the 7-time champion. And just running away will Zingy be. And Igor might do enough. I was just going to say might do enough to hold on and gain that overtake mode. That is the turning point. That's what they've got to do to secure this one. And I think they have just about kept it together. There you go. But having severe understeer, almost lost it all. And I thought we were going to see a slam dunk victory to Zingy. Well, they're almost halfway in front, time penalty wise, of the Serbian. Bringing it back on battery is Igor, sending it over the curves, almost colliding with the wall, absolutely flying through the first chicane. But there it is. The tyres have hit their cliff. A harder cliff than we expected. And a 3-second time penalty may not be enough for Igor to hold on. We're at 1.9 seconds already. What a drive it has been for both of these guys. Absolutely precision stuff to the flag. The penultimate lap is almost up. The final lap is on its way. Igor this time will not have overtake mode and will instead just have 0 battery to fight with. They've got a little bit of a blast here available, but the tyres have suddenly hit their cliff. Zingy, clean air available, 60% battery, 70% to blast down the straight, and might even take the lead of the Grand Prix before the next corner. Spectacular. Eagle, 2%. Zingy, 2.9 seconds. 3 seconds. Your new race leader of the Madrid Grand Prix. And looking to try and take their first victory around this circuit. They were denied it yesterday. An opportunity to fight for it in the early stages. And they just didn't have the resource to come back later on. This time, the comeback of dreams is here. Zingy flows through the circuit. Eagle, 3.3 seconds, 3.4 seconds. They were holding on quite nicely, holding it to 3.1 for a few corners. But as they continue, the tyres just can't hold on any longer. And they're sliding all over the place. You have to say both of these guys deserve it. The efforts that they've put in. But it's going to only go to one. Zingy finally will win in Madrid. They round the final corner. Zingy wins the Spanish Grand Prix in style. Eagle to P2. A clean race on time penalties, but not enough. 1.4 seconds it is. Fency will take a podium. And although it's not the way they wanted to get it, a cleaner race has definitely helped them here. And they should be proud of what they've done. You have to be in it to get that podium. They've done it today. Farvar, some misfortune and some errors. Down to P4, but still getting the laps in, getting the experience that they need to compete up front. As the top two definitely do have. Gregorio, P5, 10 points to take home. Also should be happy with that one. What a race. What a race. And unfortunately, I think we're going to probably see a 2-minute pause until we get to see the results. Which is frustrating, just as proof as what we're seeing. Well, fair enough, I have got a puncture on the intermediate tyres, which they really shouldn't have done. So not really impressing anyone. And for some reason, trying to take it to the end rather than retiring, as it won't affect their position whatever they do. And they won't actually make it to the end either. 1 minute to go. As Zingy relaxes after a hard push. It was not easy at all. The entire way having to fight for it. Going for that early pit stop. Really did make it a little bit more complicated. But it was worth it in the end. Igor, so close. 1.4 seconds away. Maybe one lap later, if they pitted, they'd have had the tyres to do the job. If they deployed the battery a bit earlier, they wouldn't have allowed Zingy to go through and make that move. 1.4 seconds. That could have been the difference. You can look anywhere you like, left and right, for the advantage that they needed to take victory. But in the end, what's done is done, and the race is won. And the results will be on your screen very shortly as we get the confirmation, and we'll read the names out one final time before we go to the post-race interviews. Also get the race director in the meantime there as well. And that's the podium. Zingy takes victory in Spain. It's Igor in P2 and Fancy in P3. We've got Gregorio in P4, Faravar P5, and Rufa X in P6. DNFing earlier on was Yellowek and Charlie in the opening laps. The race director's on your screen, and then we will be back in a bit for the post-race interviews. Don't go anywhere. Hello everyone and welcome to the post-race interviews of the Spanish Grand Prix, the second race in Madrid. Cheyenne, another attempt at trying to get a victory here in LSI. It just didn't quite work out and went quite badly compared to yesterday. Can you take us through it? What went wrong? What was the turning point of you not being able to compete for victory today?
To be honest, like, I don't know, just not as much pace today, and also same thing again, consistency. But today I wouldn't say it's not even about the penalties that were. It wasn't really just my consistency that was bad today. I would say also the track is just not the best when it comes to wheel-to-wheel racing. I got 2 warnings purely because of going wheel-to-wheel with someone. Um, so yeah, I mean that's another thing, and also just a big mistake, a big spin, and also again wheel-to-wheel racing just causing damage, and
Yep.
just a lot of time lost from pit stops, and yeah, just qualifying seemed okay with the pole somehow, but besides that, it just went terribly.
So happy to see this one gone then. In a few weeks' time, I don't usually ask about the next race anymore, but Saudi Arabia, it's a different circuit. There's a lot of straights with a heavy change in regulations and battery. Do you think that will be a good race?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it is a much different to Silverstone, the first race that we did.
Mm.
It was just all yo-yo racing. Honestly, you can't pull away from people at all. But it's not bad when it comes to battling, I guess. But I don't know. Get some practice and hopefully I won't do bad.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, Sean. Really good job today.
Thank you
Shame
so
it
much,
didn't go
man.
your way, but hopefully it goes better next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to Gregorio. Gregorio, after the first few laps, unfortunately, the pack split up a little bit, but you were holding on nicely for a fair while at the beginning.
Yeah, I think if this result happened yesterday, I would have been a lot more happier. Obviously, today there was less people. But yeah, I felt like P5 would have been my maximum today. I wasn't on the pace, just understeering everywhere. I don't know what happened. It got worse throughout the race as the tyres degraded. But I don't think I want to see this track anymore. I did say yesterday, I want to see it again, but just I don't want to see it anymore.
Fair enough. Change in mind. There you go. Madrid may not be back again. It's been a special one though. Thank you very much, and I hope it goes better next time. I hope we get some more people in, but it's just the way it goes with a Madrid race, but also the summer season. So yeah, thank you very much. Great effort today, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
And we move on to Zingy. I hope Zingy is here.
Yeah,
He
man.
is here. There you go. Congratulations. Finally, you got it done. It was, according to us, quite tense, and it looked like it was going to be a close one. Was it like that for you?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, qualifying, I messed up. I lost like 2 tenths in the first sector. I managed to carry the speed through the second and third, and I was only 200 off pole, so I bottled that, first of all. And then when the VSE came out, I thought, well, I'm going to switch to a two-stop. I knew the tyre degradation was very bad around here, so I knew if I could just hold on to a few seconds lead by the time I pitted, which was like, what, 6 seconds, I think, something like that, I would have a chance. The first issue came actually when it didn't release me at my pit box, and I was stuck there for about a second and a half, so I lost time there, and then my own teammate blocked me, and I lost about 2 seconds because of that. I of course got the penalty, and at that point I was so pissed off with everything that happened, and I said to myself that I'm going to win this race no matter what, and I did. I wasn't letting anyone get in the way, and thankfully for me, the Igor battle, he didn't put on much resistance. I'm very surprised about that, but I'm very happy to show my pace, and yeah, I think this is a very deserving win. I'm very happy about it.
I think you did catch him napping a little bit. He didn't expect you to go for the move, and then just couldn't quite get back past you. Do you think today you've made Carlos Sainz proud?
Every time I race, he looks up to me, and he is proud.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, Zingy. We'll see you next time. Have a good one. Well done.
I'll see you there, mate.
And that's been it for the post-race interviews. That's been it for the Spanish Grand Prix here in the summer season. We'll see you in, it's going to be 3 weeks' time in Saudi Arabia after the breaks that we will have. Have a good one, though, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.